Hello, this is Chapter 6 of Advanced Formal Logic. This is the chapter where we deal with enthymemes. Before we get to that, I just want to point out you may have noticed that we skipped from Chapter 4 to Chapter 6. We're doing this on purpose. We usually cover Chapter 5 actually at the end of the book. I think that's a better place to cover the concepts there. So we're just going to skip into Chapter 6. We've been working with syllogisms, and we've seen how syllogisms function, and we've also seen that syllogisms are useful because they help us to organize an argument and figure out whether or not the argument is valid, and then if the argument is valid, to figure out whether or not the argument is sound. So the problem is that most arguments in the real world don't follow syllogisms. They're not organized that way. So if we're going to analyze real world arguments, we need to learn to analyze them in the way they most often appear. And so this is going to be our start in converting normal statements, everyday statements, into a logical proposition, into a syllogism. And the most common way to express an argument is in the form of an enthymeme. All an enthymeme is, it's a syllogism, but it's missing a part. So you've encountered these many times, and I'm sure you've actually used them at times as well. An example would be this. John is an atheist. Therefore, John doesn't believe in God. This is an enthymeme. We notice that this syllogism is missing a part. We've called John an atheist, but we've never defined what this is. That's the missing part. The first premise is really that atheists are people who don't believe in God. John is an atheist, therefore John doesn't believe in God. The most common reason for using an enthymeme is that the speaker assumes that one of the premises is common knowledge. If I use that argument, I'm just assuming you know what an atheist is. I don't have to state what an atheist is or define that term. But using an enthymeme can also be a sneaky way to disguise a poor argument, hoping that the listener is not going to question the part that's missing. So here's an example from Julius Caesar. He would not take the crown. Therefore, he was not ambitious. Again, this is an enthymeme. I've left part of the argument out, assuming that the reason people don't take the crown, the reason they don't want to be a king or a queen, is because they're not ambitious. That's the part that I have left out. However, there might be other reasons why this person would not take the crown. Let's do another example. The governor wants to reduce government regulations. Therefore, the governor is an anarchist. So again, this time I've left out the middle section of this syllogism. I'm assuming the knowledge that anarchists are people that want to reduce regulations. Again, though, there might be other reasons why the governor wants to reduce government regulations. How about this? Drunk driving hurts innocent people, therefore drunk driving is wrong. Again, this enthymeme, it leaves out a premise, the premise that hurting innocent people is wrong. So what we can see from this is not all enthymemes are bad. It's not bad that we leave part out, but we do want to make sure our terms are defined. We want to make sure that what the part that we left out really is common knowledge, and that it really makes for a sound argument. We define enthymemes in three ways. We give them three orders, we say. A first order enthymeme is one where the major premise is missing. John is an atheist, so he doesn't believe in God. That's the argument I'm making. If I want to construct this into a syllogism, I can first see this is really an enthymeme. John is an atheist, therefore John doesn't believe in God. I've left out the major premise being that atheists are people who don't believe in God. Here's another very common one. You'll do fine, just follow your heart. So if I make this into a syllogism, it looks like this. You follow your heart, therefore you will do fine. I've left out a major premise. Major premise being people who follow their heart will do fine. This may or may not be true. Second order enthymemes, these are those where the minor premise is missing. So an example of this would look this way. The reason misers are unhappy is because greedy people are unhappy. If I were to construct this into a syllogism, it would look like this. Greedy people are unhappy. Therefore, misers are unhappy. I've left out the minor premise here. Minor premise being that misers are greedy people. Another example is this. I can't admit you because you are improperly dressed. Looking like a syllogism, it would be people improperly dressed will not be admitted. Therefore, you will not be admitted. The minor premise would be you are improperly dressed. So the syllogism would be people improperly dressed will not be admitted. You are improperly dressed, therefore you will not be admitted. Third order enthymemes, these are enthymemes where the conclusion is missing. We have another word for this in English. Sometimes we call it innuendo. I'm implying something. An example would be like this. Mr. Zimmerman is a person. All people need to eat to survive. Therefore, Mr. Zimmerman needs to eat to survive. I'm implying this, that this thing must be true. Okay, for next time, you should read chapter 6. You should read pages 47 to 50. You should especially carefully read those first 2 pages and then do the exercises for day 1 in Moodle.